Shigo had woken up with a scream and was in cold sweat and was still in the hospital bed. She looked around and everything was black and white. Seeing if her baby was still in his crib, Ryan was gone. Ryan? Shigo cried as she jumped out of bed and landed on the ice-cold floor. Feeling something rich and thick beneath her feet, she looked down. Ah, gross, she complained and backed away from the dark pool of crimson blood. Where's my baby? She thought, as she then started to leave the dark cold room and entered the cold hall. Looking down it started to twist. Shigo felt like if she was in a Freddy Krueger movie. Hello? Shigo called as she stumbled down, in amaze of how capable she was of walking. Since she'd just given birth, the pale lights above her were flickering. She gulped so hard and felt as if someone had touched her shoulder. Spinning around, she found Draken behind her. His face was like stone as he had fresh blood all over his operating gown. Honey, what's going on? I can't find Ryan, Shigo said, hugging him, and he just stood there. You won't find him now, Shigo, he spoke. Shigo was confused and started to get scared. His tone wasn't the tone that Draken normally spoke in. It was different. What's wrong with you? Shigo then asked, as he gently pushed her away. Hey, come on. She wants to show you something, Draken said, smiling as he gripped her hand and pulled her down to the darkest hall he can find. What's going on? Like I said, she wants to show you something, Draken said, gripping her hand harder. Drew, that hurts! Who wants to show me something? Stop! She then cried as she tended to break from his grasp, but then he dragged her into a room that read 324 across it. Shigo then found her crumpled up into a ball in the middle of this dark, twisted room. Behind her, she could hear chanting, and she slowly turned around. What are you guys doing? Shigo whispered, as she saw Draken was on his knees and was looking at something very strange, happy face that she had ever seen him wear. And Abby was just sitting in a waiting chair behind him, chanting the words, Healer, healer. Shigo's mind twisted and it hurt. Seeing her husband on all fours, looking like a turned-on lion, and his mother looked like a gypsy, that made her think, am I going crazy? Draken then stopped looking the way he did and glared at Shigo. Darling, Allison's going to be okay, Draken then said, looking at his baby in the glass box. Turning around, Shigo spotted the white box and got to her feet and slowly opened the box. Oh, Allison, Shigo said sadly, as she slowly rubbed her little tummy. Allison was on her back and her head was turned to the right. Her tiny, chubby hands were up here, and her head and her toes were twitching. Shigo prayed that she would be all right, looking at the heart monitor and seeing her chest was ever moving so slowly up and down. I can help her, then spoke a voice that made Shigo freeze in her tracks. Looking right at the back of the dark, frightening room stood a girl with blonde hair from Shigo's dreams. What do you want? Shigo asked, standing in front of the crate protecting the child. Don't be afraid. I bring you no harm, said the kind girl as she glided forward and came face to face with Shigo. This will be the last time I see you for a while, Shigo. What do you mean? Shigo stuttered. I won't be seeing you for a while. In your future telling dreams, I should say. Now let me see your child, the girl said, pushing Shigo away, but she stood still. No, she growled. Very well, the girl then said, smirking, as she playfully fully pushed Shigo aside, and she flew into the wall. Curse you! Shigo growled, getting up and feeling very dizzy. She then tried to go after the girl, but Shigo felt a horrible force that held her in place. Now, Allison, you shall live a normal life. You're such a good girl, the girl said, lying on her hand on the child's stomach, and her eyes shot open and she started to giggle wildly. Draken was getting the look on his face, and Abby was chanting more and more. Don't hurt her! Shigo screamed, as tears welled up in her eyes. Nacha Michia, the girl then said. A blast of light filled the room, and before she knew it, Shigo had just woken up from her dream. Help! Shigo then cried, and flew out of the hospital bed. Shigo, are you all right? Abby asked, putting down her magazine and rushing over to her. Dear, you have a horrible fever. Are you all right? Abby said, calming her down and putting a cool washcloth on her forehead. My baby Allison! Oh God, is she all right? Shigo then cried and tried to sit up again, but Abby pushed her back down to bed. Yes, I'm sure she's fine. You must have a bad dream, dear. It's over. Everything's going to be all right. Abby then whispered and smiled at her. Draken, on the other hand, woke up in a cold sweat and shivered as he looked around. He had to dream that it'd just be Shigo and Ryan in his arms, and were standing over a gravestone that read Allison Lipsky, so young yet so hopeless. And that brought a tear to his eyes. What a horrible dream, Draken muttered, as he rubbed his forehead and looked into the glass box. Allison! He then cried with joy as he saw his daughter waving her arms in the air. She was smiling happily. Draken looked at her heart monitor, and Allison's little heart was beating at a normal pace. It was a miracle. He couldn't believe it. Oh, thank you, Draken prayed as he reached into his hand and held his new daughter's hand tightly. Tears of happiness strolled down his blue face, but then he got up and ran to tell Shigo the good news. Shigo! Draken said as she rushed up into her room, as she groggily looked at him. What? She moaned. Allison's gonna be okay. She's fine. I don't know what happened, but I took a little nap, and when I woke up she was good as new. She is? Shigo said joyfully. Yes, she is, and everything's gonna be okay, Draken said, coming over and hugging her tightly. Abby was very happy as well. While Shigo was asleep and she prayed, Allison's heart would grow stronger and her prayers were answered. Ryan had broken the silence as he let out a cry because he wanted attention. Shigo and Draken laughed as they picked him up and sat next to Shigo. I know who saved our baby girl, Shigo started. Who? Draken asked curiously. A friend, Shigo whispered, as she smiled, the picturing girl's face in mind, as she smiled back and winked. After a while of being with their son, a doctor came in, and Draken and Shigo laughed when they saw who it was. Well, long time no see, Draken said, standing up and shaking the doctor's hand. Dr. Hershey? Shigo asked, laughing. Ah, Miss Draken, isn't it? How have you been doing? The doctor said, coming back over and shaking hands with her. Great, and as you can see, I have 2 new members of our family. Shigo smiled as Ryan looked up at the doctor and his game with him looked and said, Who the heck are you? Yes, I see. That's wonderful. The reason why I came in here is 'cause your daughter Ashton, is it? It's Allison, they both said, remembering when they first met Dr. Hershey, and he couldn't remember Draken's name. Yes, that's it. Anyway, she's all better, and we are allowed to take her from the box, and you may have her now. She is fine, Dr. Hershey said, smiling, a happy family as she sent a wheelchair for Shigo. I want to go get her, she said kindly, as she handed Ryan to Abby so who can watch him, and while she and Draken left. Draken held her down the hall and landed into the room. Shigo had felt sick to her stomach because she was going down the hall that she hadn't seen in her dreams, and was now in the room she witnessed a miracle. They opened the door and the whole room was filled with light. The sun was out and shining. A few nurses were around the glass box, gently pulling out her tubes and suction cups out. Here she is, a black nurse said kindly, lifting Allison out of the box, and blanket dropped and she giggled. Everyone laughed. She has been a wonderful patient today. You both should be very proud, the woman said, resting the wiggling Allison in Shigo's arms. Hello, Angel, Shigo smiled as Allison looked at her mommy and daddy. Hello there, Draken chuckled as he tickled Allison's tummy, making her wave her arms happily. She must be hungry, Shigo said, as the baby clung onto Shigo's shirt. Yes, she has had a long trip. Let's get you back to the room and you can feed her, and I think we're all set, Draken said, thanking the nurses, as Draken then strolled them back to the room. After they did all that set, Draken got in the car with Shigo and Abby and the babies, and they started home. Little did they know that their lives were about to change within many years. Little did they know that one of their pasts was going to catch up to them. And little did they know that all their lives were in danger. But Draken, Abby, and Shigo don't worry about that now. They were just happy they were safe with their new children, so they drove off, going home to start a new life. And that, my pretties, was Obsession Part 1. a Kim Possible fan fiction written by xXxKimPossible. My final thoughts on the story? I actually thought this was a really good sequel to the other story I've narrated. And this is, for those of you who are wondering, this is a sequel to the other Kim Possible fanfiction I narrated called No Matter Where You Are, I'll Always Find You. This is a sequel to that. And there's actually another sequel to this one called Obsession Part 2, Voices in the Night, which I do plan to maybe narrate it sometime in the future. I just can't really guarantee when that will be, but I'll take a look at that story, and maybe when I get the chance, I'll definitely narrate it and consider it. Because even though that one has not been finished, at 27 chapters, I'll still give this one a go. It's actually pretty good that this story was really neat. I personally really enjoyed a lot of it. I thought it was really well detailed and stuff. I do have to say, there is a few things that I do need to make a mention of. One of them being, there was a lot of grammatical errors in this story. It was kind of the same, just like the other one I did. So there was a lot of grammatical errors. There were spelling mistakes that I did notice in the story. So yeah, I did struggle go here and there because of that. Punctuation mark does need to be revised, and sentence structuring does need to be revised as well. And there were parts of the story that was a little bit difficult for me to read. I'm just gonna be honest. But other than that, I thought this story was pretty good. I mean, it's a really interesting and well-made done story. I personally thought this was a good sequel. And by the way, on DeviantArt, I think a few days ago or something, I actually saw fan art based of this story on DeviantArt, and I obviously thought it was pretty neat that someone made fan art for it. It's actually pretty cool. I definitely have to say, I really do like, that people make fan art of fan fictions and stuff, which I really think that's really cool. I really hope somebody does make fan art of one of my stories in the future. That would be something. But anyway, I definitely have to say, what I could do to fix this story and make it better is, fix the grammatical errors and fix the spelling errors, punctuation marks, fix the sentence structuring, and fix it so it's more readable, if that makes sense. Like, you could see throughout the story, I did struggle a bit to read because there were some parts of the story that was a little difficult for me to read, so I did have some struggling when it came to that story, but I didn't think this story was that bad. This one was actually pretty good. Does need some work, but I definitely have to say this story was definitely enjoyable. I'll leave a link to the story, which I have been for a while. Throughout the story. I've been linking stories, so you guys can go check it out. And like I said, if you look in the link description, there is a link to the story, so you guys can go check out this story if you like. And as always, I have to really say, to the author of this story, you really did a good job. I mean, despite a few errors and stuff, but I think you could do a better job. I mean, this story is not bad or anything, but I personally liked it, but it does need some work. That's just all I have to really say. But, like I'm always gonna say, this is just simply my own personal opinion. If you happen to disagree with it, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these stories. This is just simply my own personal thoughts. I'm gonna give this story a 8 out of 10. While it was an enjoyable story, I personally really liked it, just like the other one. But the grammatical errors need to be revised. The punctuation errors need to be revised. Spelling needs to be fixed. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to really say. But if I'm missing something about the story that I did not talk about, you guys can let me know in the comments below. But I think I've covered most of everything. And anyways, what did you guys personally think of this story? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Lion Queen. Thank you or Shadow the Lion Queen, whatever you prefer to call it. thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you enjoyed this channel, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, if you guys want to go follow me on Blue Sky, link to my Blue Sky will be in the About page section, so you guys can go follow me on there. Also, follow me on Twitter, follow me on DeviantArt, as links to those will be in the About page section, so you guys can go follow me on there. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my backup channel known as Miss Dark Shigo, as link to that will also be in the About page section, so you guys can go follow me on there. And as always, I'll be seeing you guys all in the next video. I will do part 2 of the obsession. There is a part 2 to this, so I'll consider doing that in the future, but that will be whenever I have the time, so there's definitely that. But anyways, with that being said and that being the case, I'll be seeing you guys all in the next video. Peace out, and like always, roll the outro, because I'm out. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.